Welcome in our weekly chat here, No House Advantage NBA strategy show, as we not only get you ready for tonight's action, No House Advantage, but we continue to educate you on how to win money, how to go out there and successfully walk away with a positive ROI each and every time you're going out and building lineups for No House Advantage. And the beauty of it is you've got 3 different ways to combine all in one, and that's Terry here giving you analysis, those projections that you see on Awesemo that are free, and then our prime optimal lineups, which are basically telling you who to plug and play right if you are building a ton. So we have a lot, as always, to sift through from overs and unders. How you doing, first and foremost?
Doing pretty well, man. It's good to be here. I feel like I'm in good company with those 2 killer pieces of content. And then, hey, I'm along for the ride here, and I'll throw in the old analysis. But yeah, it doesn't get much better than Alex's projections and just giving you guys the lineups for what the most optimal way to put these things together is.
Yeah, there's a little strategy. You know,
there's strategy. You know, we provide our end here too. We're holding up our end, but I mean, I don't want to compare myself to Alex's projections, please. That was a killer intro.
No, but I think, you know, there's a healthy medium here. You're not Joe Girardi sitting in the Phillies bullpen doing absolutely.
Hey, I love Joe Girardi. I will not stand for this Girardi bashing.
I knew I could get you there. All right, man. So we have to sift and see who's been zeroed out, and we continue to remind you, as far as if you see somebody at a 100, there's a really solid chance that this guy ain't playing. And we already see that tonight with guys like Julius Randle, Chris Middleton, basically everybody from Minnesota, Lou Williams and Luka, right? These guys are basically ruled out throughout, so you don't have to worry about them specifically. And we really only have one overplay where we always like to begin, and that's your squad, your guy, Immanuel Quickley's assists. Now, this is a really wide gap here between what NHA is asking Quickley to get over versus what Alex has projected.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, 3.5 seems low when we're looking at that 5.47 that Alex has on the board. Quickley, in his 22.1 minutes a game, averages 3.1 assists. So it might seem on the surface like we're saying that he's going to get to, you know, a significant amount more when we're not giving him all that many more minutes than his 22.1 minute average. Alex has him at a 25.5. What's going to be going on with the Knicks tonight is that there's no Julius Randle, and he's a fantastic facilitator for a big man. He's got a 25.1% assist rate on the year. So those assists have to go somewhere. The most likely destination for them is the guards, right? So in the situation where Quickley's going to be on the floor, he's more likely to going to pick up some more potential assists, and he's more likely going to convert a few of those than what he's averaging. So I think Alex is on point with you know, giving him that bump in assist rate. There should be some additional assists for a guy like RJ Barrett, who's going to see more opportunity. His assist rate typically goes up in this situation, but Quickley should be a guy who gets swept up in that. The 3.5 feels low. That's right around, they've got him projected, or they've got that line set rather for his normal circumstance. And that's not what we're dealing with. That's always what we're looking for.
So this is an interesting game, right? Because Randall's out clearly, and it's not like the Hawks are a beacon of health by any means and stability. At the same time, you've got this Knicks team who has been up and down clearly, but they've owned the Hawks, not just this year, but like 7-8 straight regular season games they've won against Atlanta. So with Randall out
in the playoffs,
well, I was for your benefit, right? Yeah. So that's the caveat is always that. Look, man, we're on the same team.
That was a little bumpy.
A little bit, but what is it? Who benefits the most from a scoring standpoint? Because if Quickley, and if you can look at somebody like Quickley, who's going to benefit from other guys picking up some slack, is it just Barrett? Is it Evan Fournier? Right? Like, we have a couple of obvious choices, but do you think that it does slide elsewhere?
I mean, I think the obvious benefactor is going to be, or beneficiary rather, is going to be RJ Barrett. He's going to see more usage than what he normally gets out there. He's going to be the lead dog. He's been kind of taking that on a little bit anyways, up to 26.1% usage for the season. He's been pushing to average 20 points. He was in the New York Post the other day talking about wanting to average 20 NBA points for the season. What's
Post? Last time Randall was in the Post, didn't you guys go on like a 3-game losing streak?
Well, I mean, that happens so frequently that who can keep track of what the causes are anymore.
Touche.
RJ wasn't out there like flipping off the fans or anything. I'll give you
True.
that. No, he was in there talking about good things. And, there's a lot of growth going on with that kid. I really like the looks of him overall. Still very young. He's got growing to do, but pushing the average of 20 points per game already. So with just the idea of more to do, he's going to push a 30% usage rate tonight. Fournier will see an uptick for sure. I like the looks of the Fournier threes. It's at 2.5. We've got him projected at 3.84. That's pushing an 85%er on the overs. So I think that one's pretty strong. The assists for Fournier is pretty strong, just by the same token of a guy who's going to be out there for around 30 minutes, his normal role, but there will be more assists. Somebody's going to have to facilitate those buckets. So when he's not scoring, odds are there's going to be a good chance it's coming off of his hands over to a guy like RJ or, maybe Mitch in the middle. I like the opportunity for Mitch as well, but it doesn't look like he's really bouncing to the top of Alex's board here in terms of where the NHA lines are set. So they must have some pretty efficient lines on him.
Yeah. And look, I played Fournier's over 3.5. I'm going to have that for locks coming up here in just under an hour for Lindquist. But I played that knowing that we'd have a chance to talk about this tonight, seeing it. And again, it's at 82.5. And technically there are about 4 or 5 props ahead from a numbers standpoint. But then when you add the narrative, when you add what's happened here on the floor and without Randall, things can adjust, as we've had this with Terry, many a times on our show here. So looking at Fournier, and again, the books are granted, you're laying 104, 105, depending on where you're getting it. Odd Shopper will tell you the best place to get it, but you're not getting plus money on over 3.5 for Fournier. That's the books. The difference here is no juice, and you're only going over 2.5. So I'm actually surprised that with Randall out, that 3-point prop is not higher, especially from a percentage standpoint, Terry, especially with the expected allotment of minutes that Fournier is going to be out there, combined with NHA only asking you to get 3 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Fournier in a per 36 cents, he's taking 9.3 threes and making 3.7 per 36. We've got him projected for fewer than 36 minutes, but it's that Knicks rotation where if he's hot, he's going to see around 34, 36. If he's cold, he's going to probably not get you to that line anyway. So that's what we talk about with him for DFS all the times. It's that wide range of outcomes where, you're either getting there and you're cruising there because he's going to see extra playing time because the shot's falling, or Tibbs yanks him early and because he's cold and he wasn't going to get you there anyway. So 39.8% 3-point shooter. I like that one, and I like the opportunity for him to at least get the looks at it. And it seems like he's got enough to have that many go down for him.
All right, so high 80s here. We can attack Pat Connaughton really from 3 different areas right now. And, looking at the highest one would technically be his PR. But if it's points, rebounds, if it's just rebounds, he's right there as far as the high 80s. And really the number 2 option below Quickley.
Yeah, you got to love the spot for Connaughton on any of these, really. I think they're all just under projected for he's going to be in the starting lineup. No Chris Middleton tonight. We've also got the potential for no Giannis tonight. He's probable. I wrote about him on the site. Giannis looks spectacular for DFS, particularly on FanDuel. But a guy like Connaughton can benefit from just being out there playing a few additional minutes. And it's not like it's a big ask here. The points plus rebounds is 7.5. We've got him projected to go double that. It should be no real challenge for him to get to that. So I like any one of those. The points plus rebounds is easy off the top. And we're talking about a guy who, when he gets his minutes, 26.9 minute average, is pulling in on a points plus rebounds basis. He's at a 14.4. So we've got him projected like right at his average. We're not asking him to do anything exceptional, and he's going to be in the starting lineup tonight. So there's a good shot for Pat Connaughton here.
All right, so we have omitted a couple of these unders, and I don't want to play favorites by any means, even though we do each and every week here. But we may have some stronger plays overall. And again, this isn't to go 10 minutes into the show to have Tyler just break down everything that you've built. But there are a couple of mid to high 90s, and so much of this is just dependent on a guy playing, right? And how much you can see this. Although last week, now I'm blanking, of course, but last week we talked about this very scenario, and there was a guy right there at the top who it was just about if he needed to play or not, maybe on the Nets, right? And all of a sudden, the final minute of the game, this guy's out there and he gets a minute play, and all of these unders will cash on NHA. Yeah. And it was just amazing to see that, because I immediately thought of you and our projections right there at the top. So you really just need these guys to be out there in order for these unders to cash. But you've got a couple, at least, of some bigger ones, at least with, 99 to 99, one with Gary Harris, one with Tony Bradley. And I guess technically, if you're playing anything Tony Bradley, you might as well just play the under rebounds because that's 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the go-to right there. The line is at a ridiculous 5.5. Tony Bradley for the season is playing 10.4 minutes a game and averaging 3.5 rebounds. So they're clearly expecting something different than what the reality is for Tony Bradley right now. Over the last 3 games, he's averaged 3.3 minutes, played 3, then 5, then 2. So our 1.7 minute projection here is probably pretty on point for what we can expect from him tonight, if he takes the court at all. So that's always going to be the caveat there, is going to be that if he takes the court at all. Zach LaVine's questionable tonight, but I mean, that's not a positional comp. That's just a body in the rotation, one of their prime players. At his position in the front court, there's not going to be anybody that's going to be out of the way here. So it's not like there's going to be a situation created for him to, suddenly see even his minutes, his season-long average, let alone a lot of minutes that would get him beyond his average. So I'm not really sweating that Bradley one. It's just a matter if he takes the court at all. He has the last 3 times out for limited minutes. So I like him to stay well under 5.5 rebounds unless he magically gets, 16 minutes. I think you're muted.
I am muted. I apologize. How about Gary Harris? He's another guy that's popping right up there, and that line with that gap is worthy of a 99.5 percentile that it hits the under.
Yeah, Harris is an interesting one. I had to go look at it because we've got him projected at 10.8 minutes, well under the 28.5 that he averages for the entire course of the season. But they've just gotten healthier. They're going away. They don't necessarily need to use him. So he was in a more reduced role in the last game. He got that 24 minutes largely on the back of garbage time. He played the entire fourth quarter. So he added 12 minutes at the end of the game. They were, I assume, getting lit up in this game. No, actually, it was a fairly tight game. So I didn't get a chance to look into why specifically he got that fourth quarter run, but it looks like they just went to the bench largely in the fourth quarter, and they had Wendell Carter sat out for it's kind of a normal rotation. He came back in halfway through. Carter, Wagner, and Anthony. Looks like Mo Bamba was out of the game at that point, so that might have had some effect on some trickle down effect on who was available. So regardless, Harris got those minutes by virtue of playing the entire fourth quarter. I expect that he's going to fall off that production here, or that much time on the court here, be more in line with our 10.8. It's a little bit tight. I mean, the line's 9.5 on the PRA. We've got him at a 5.28 PRA. Maybe it's one where we poke around and see if any of the others are better on their own, like points on their own. 6.5. Nah, I think we're better. We're safer piling it up. So if you want to go to the Harris one, I would stick with the top one there at the 9.5. As long as he doesn't get extended run for, whatever the circumstance is, I think we're pretty safe on that one based on where we've got him projected. Yeah,
I got burned on a Bamba prop because he was out of the game by then. So you're right. It's just maybe just a matter of extenuating circumstances. Terrence Ross is popping up here. His PRA, his PA. Again, you can only play these guys if you're building one lineup tonight on NHA or any night on NHA. You can only build one guy in each one of these lineups. But if you want to go around and attack the field in multiple lineups here, you can just look at building Bradley a couple of times over. You can do the same thing with Terrence Ross. So we have his PRA, his points and assists up there, and even his points are pretty doable. All realistically some wide gaps here. It does get a little tighter with the points, but when you add another category or two, it looks like a pretty easy smash here for Ross.
Yeah, I think so as well. And it's almost the exact same situation as Harris, just, by virtue of having his minutes essentially halved. And Ross was out that last game. So, he's projected for 10.6 minutes tonight. Over his last 2 that he's appeared in, he played 10 minutes, then 23 minutes. So it's a little bit of fluctuation, but we know they're just not looking to necessarily give these guys the attention. They want to bring along some of the development time. Like that's what this part of the season is going to be for this team. So I think that's pretty safe. I think the reasonable expectation of 10 to 12 minutes of just, garbage time, bench time, just get in, a couple rotations in each half. I think that's pretty reasonable. If you want to tack it onto the PRA, we're talking about a guy who's primarily a scorer anyway, and typically is a high volume shooter, needs that time on the court to even get to his points. So tacking on the rebounds and the assists, I think we're pretty safe there at 10.5. We've got him projected well under that.
All right. Now we're getting into that mid 80s. The good thing about this is there's not really much in the 80s for an under. So we can technically go back to our overs here. and stretch out a couple of more 80s, at least a little bit more of the high 80s. We talked about Connaughton and just, coming in there with extended minutes. Wright is an interesting over, 87% here for a PRA of 6.5 on NHA. Talked about Fournier. I still think that one is much higher than it should be here, at least for the 3-pointers. And then the assist for Fournier at 1.5 is pretty smashable as well.
Yeah, I just like those situational opportunities for all these different Knicks. So yeah, the RJ Barrett one we touched on Quickley a little bit, and then Fournier. Any one of these that you land on, and as you're building out different cards, you can mix and match different plays that are similarly ranked here. So yeah, any one of those, just by virtue of Randall's absence and just what's going to be going on the court for the Knicks, you do have that hot hand issue where one of these guys is going to get some unpredictable minutes. Throw Alec Burks into that equation as well. Between those four guys, two of them will probably pretty reliably smash through their overs, and two of them will probably get really tight based on that playing time. And it's just going to be the hot hand. So if you're spreading out ownership across the different props, the ones that look better for each of the different players, I think it makes some sense as a general approach. And then, yeah, taking a look at Delon Wright, we've seen him shine when he's getting minutes. He's projected for 18.2, which is just kind of on point with his minutes. But like you said at the top of the show, there's still some missing pieces. No Bogdanovich, Collins is out, Lou Will is out as well. So there's going to be opportunity for playing time. In his standard game, he's averaging 2.9 rebounds, and we're talking about a line of 1.5. So we've got him projected for his standard minutes. Fair to expect around his standard rebounds. And I think there's actually probably a little bit more meat on the bone for that one, just based on opportunity. So I like him to cruise through that. Actually, that should potentially be a little bit higher.
Right's higher. And again, it's at 87%. So the fact that you like that even more, now we may have to ask Tyler to take a couple of guys off and just, rearrange the ladder here. Right.
I mean, you could knock that one down. When I said that, I was actually looking at the rebounds alone, which is at 81.4. We've got it projected at 2.77 against the 1.5. I didn't even notice that he had the points plus rebounds that much higher. So yeah, I would jump immediately to that points plus rebounds off the virtue of the exact same reasons.
Wait, for right. So PRA, I have it at 87.
Yeah, that's correct. I had looked too far down the list because I was talking about garbage Knicks.
So, no, look, man, I think there's actually a lot of value with your Knicks, and I'm going to go back to another one here. And
Talent,
again,
I might be short on, but value, yeah.
Well, look, I've already told you I played Fournier on the books, and we talked about a couple of ways that you could play him here on NHA. So let me go back to that one more time. But here's why, and a big reason why I think maybe this has to correlate at some point, right, is we talked about the success that the Knicks have had regular season, but granted, the success that the Knicks have had consecutively in 7-8 games against the Hawks. Fournier has gone 18 plus in 7 of his last 8 against the Hawks. Now, granted, I'm not going all the way back. I'm just looking recent stretch this year with the Knicks. And I think 18.5 PRA is a little bit high. But if you wanted to just do 15.5 PA, this one might be like a solid 3-point play here if you're looking to fill out the bottom. Because once again, I think this is a higher than 80.97 percentage where he could hit this points alone at 15.5.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, you're talking about a guy who under normal circumstances averages 14.4 points in his 29.7 minutes a game. That's with Randall out there normal, across the entire course of the season. So there is going to be some additional opportunity for him. His usage doesn't really go up in the sample with just the only guy I had the chance to take off while you were introing it there was Randall. Let me see if I can get a better approximation of what's going to be going on here tonight. His usage was floating around that same 20% mark, but it's typically, the situation with him is almost always whether or not that shot happens to be falling early on. And then he just builds from there and he gets himself going. He sees the additional minutes, like I was saying before, but considering that he's at that as an average anyway, we're asking him for one additional point or an assist on top of his points average. I kind of like going to that points plus assist one. I think that makes a lot of sense.
All right.
Let's just leave it there.
Favorite Emma Stone movie? She popped up in the chat, by the way. So I figured since you're here, this would be a pretty good person to ask.
Wow. That's an interesting one. She pops up in a lot of good stuff. She's a pretty good actress. Like I'm a big fan of Zombieland. I think the first one is hysterically funny. I love the Bill Murray cameo in it. Not to spoil anything for anybody, but that's just one of the best cameos of all time. So That might be my answer. Let me pull up her filmography real quick, because I did enjoy like her Spider-Man run, like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans. I think are a little bit underrated. She's really good in Birdman with Keaton, so she's had a good run. People could argue La La Land, I'm sure. I haven't actually found the filmography here yet.
Birdman is good.
She's in Superbad though. Shit, that's the easy
Okay.
answer off the top. She's in Superbad.
Okay.
That movie's hysterical.
Lock it up. Super bad
Yeah.
there. So all questions answered on Emma Stone. Love that, man. We don't leave anything unturned.
You got to talk through it. You got to talk through it
right.
and stumble across the answer eventually. Easy A is another really good movie of hers.
Yeah, that's an older one though, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you have to go back on that one. So I was trying to keep it somewhat, but look, if it's an all-timer, it's an all-timer. So who can argue with history by any means? All right, anybody? We already talked about Ross and Harris. Just going back to the unders, there is one with Taj Gibson. His rebounds at 5.5 on NHA, nearly a full 2 rebound difference compared to what Alex has as his projection. So that's mid 80s if you're interested in maybe even a 5-6 point play max there.
That was on. I hadn't really looked at Taj. That's on.
That's on the unders. Now again, I thought I'm fully updated here, right? Yeah, so he's
I'm sure you did. I just wasn't sorted by
one.
it.
That's all. You know, a lot of times we have guys, for example, if there's somebody who's under PRA or under PR, then usually they're the PRA or their PA. Usually it's grouped together where you have one guy that's accounting for like 4 or 5 slots in a 10 slot radius. In this case, Taj is really up there solo with his rebound prop, and that's it.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't totally love this one. I mean, we're talking about a capable rebounder who should see, he averages 17.9. We've got him projected at 16.7. But I mean, we know they're also going to be without Nerlens Noel in that front court. We expect Obi Toppin to get most of those minutes. They've got guys that'll mix into the rotation, like Quentin Grimes and players like that. So they might just mix it up where Taj doesn't really see an uptick. But I could easily see Taj Gibson going out there and grabbing 6 rebounds in even less than 20 minutes tonight. In his 17-9, he averages 4.4. So he's averaging a rebound less in more time than we're giving him tonight. It's just that question lingering in my head of, does Tibbs? I mean, this is one of Tibbs' absolute top guys. It's like Taj and Derrick Rose are his 2 favorite players in the league, maybe Jimmy Butler. Outside of that, there's that lingering doubt in my head that Taj might see a few additional minutes, and he's just that scrappy, capable rebounder type. I don't love this one, but it does math out right. So I mean, it's difficult to reject it on a fan like that. Maybe a little bias creeping in for me on that one, but I'm kind of tepid about it.
All right, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, please, if you haven't already, if you're hanging with us. And again, take full advantage. Our promo code out there, in case you're wondering, you're new to NHA, is Awesemo. Just put that in, Awesemo, AWESEMO, and we're going to match your first deposit up to $25, where at $50, you can do a lot of damage right away, getting all the advice, the insight from Terry, putting together what we have here as far as our projections. So we've kind of gone back and forth and tackled a lot here as far as the high percentage overs and unders, and really haven't had to scrape much into the 70s at all. Is there anything that has kind of caught your eye in that range that maybe we missed, or maybe there's something that you were looking at ahead of time that bumps up a little bit higher than what the projection would be on either overs or unders?
I think the under on Draymond, and that's another one where I feel like I'm playing with fire a little bit, but I feel a little bit more confident in this one because of where we've got him projected minutes wise. We've got him projected for 24.2 minutes, a reduction of 5 minutes from the 29.2 that he's averaged over his 37 minutes for the season, just kind of bringing him along gingerly a little bit. Over the last 3 games, he's averaged just 20 minutes, playing 20, 22, and 18. So we're actually projecting him for a bit of an uptick over what he's seen recently. And even with that, he still falls a rebound and a half short of that 7.5. So at 77%, I kind of like that one. We are talking about a dangerous rebounder who, if he gets 25 minutes, could easily go out there and grab you, those 7.5 rebounds. So like I said, it doesn't feel great, but it masks out right. And as long as we're right about those minutes, or they stay in line with what they've been doing recently, I expect we'll go under that one. So I kind of like that one.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, man, especially when you can apply the minutes there for that standpoint. And look, you're still at a really good return as far as the gap of our projections on site for Alex, and also the percentage. So it's not like you had to go down to a 60 or 58% in order to make that work.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we're always looking for with these. We're always looking for those, that where they're projecting it one way, their line is set based on either the guy's normal expectation and he's not going to be in that situation. Well, it's always that, right? But either he's going to have a more of an opportunity or a reduced opportunity. So you just look for that market inefficiency and exploit that. And that's how you fill out your card. So that's what we're looking for on these different probabilities. And I think that one fits pretty nicely because that's a line for 30-minute Draymond. That's not a line for a 24-minute Draymond.
Yeah, that's such a key distinction right there. How much on the over side here? And it's at that bottom 80s, if you will. There are two options, PRA and PA. Luke Kennard, if you look at just the difference between the NHA lines versus the Awesemo projections, both definitely workable, but so much, I guess, is about your feel for this game. And also if you think that, with any added minutes or volume, this is worth taking a play on Kennard.
Yeah, he's never one of the guys that thrills me to go to DFS wise or anything else. I just, I find him kind of a boring play a lot of the time, I guess. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about Luke Kennard that just puts that bug in my head, but I think this one makes sense. The PRA 13.5, we've got him well over that. It's a situation where, he's going to be getting around his average minutes, and the average PRA that he puts up is, let's see, 17.2, and we've got him projected at 17.05. So he's clearing that by 3.5 on the average. We've got him projected for 26.6 minutes. He averages 27.5. It's not a changed situation. That's one where we can kind of drill in, and it looks like they just went low with that line. So I don't mind going to that. The other one I was looking at as you were teeing up Kennard, which is why it took me a second to click into who we were talking about, is Nemanja Bjelica, who's on the board a little bit higher in the 86%
we
range.
Missed him. That's right. That's my fault.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I was happy not to talk about it, but I figured I'd throw him out there because he's
got some low numbers though to attack, right?
Yeah, it makes sense to chase that one. I think he's clearing the rebounds prop by nearly 2. It's a 3.5. We've got him at 5.35, 86.4% likely to hit that. And it's a situation where it's minutes, right? We've got him projected at 21.4 minutes. He averages 15.7 on the season, but we know that they're depleted. No Moody, no Curry, no Iggy, no Wiseman. Wiggins is questionable, most likely going to play, but especially if Wiggins is out there, he'll cruise through these lines. Even with with Wiggins out there, I think he's got a safe shot at hitting these. So I think Bjelica's on the board here as uncomfortable. Like if I'm putting Bjelica and Kennard in the same card, I'm not happy, but I think they both make sense.
No, and look, a lot of times if you want to play multiple lineups, then you can avoid that issue and not feel as dirty, I guess, when you're filling out your card here, but you have the choice.
Well, at least not when they're overs, I guess I should clarify. Right. Like if these are unders that we would be talking about at 86, I feel a lot more comfortable with these guys. But
now that makes sense.
They're
I get
there.
That.
Yeah, but so, they're there.
I'm sorry.
Sense. No, good.
No, that's it, man. I think we've tackled a lot here. If there was anybody else that you wanted to look at, that would be, I guess, justifiably a 1 or 2 point play if you get down to that tight area. We do have the optimal lineups for people to use again, and other than that,
I wondered if you're going to say it. It's sitting right there. I've been
Bobby
wondering
Portis,
if you were going to. There it is.
Over 3.
Bobby Portis 3.
He's been okay. So he's had 4 straight games of dog shit, right? Where he hasn't done jack, what, and from 3. And over the course of the season, he's never gone more than 4 games with this type of cold streak, and he's bounced back going over 1.5. And 1.5 is such a low number because chances are that it's either juiced at the book or you're still getting it over 2.5 at like ridiculous plus money to bait you. I don't hate it. And I stayed away from it. I don't hate it, but I definitely think that there's a lot. Well, look, especially with guys out, you would think, but I would do one of 2 things, Terry. I would either go and play this and lock it in as like a 1 through 3 play. And then after I do this on NHA, I would go long on the books. And instead of just going over a 1.5 or what, I would go like 4+ tonight and really try and maximize, because without even Giannis and definitely without Middleton, Grayson Allen's going to get a little bit of a bump here, but Bobby Portis at the very least is going to have a ton of volume to get out of this funk that he's been in over the last couple of games. So I stayed away from him just to go over the prop, but now I'm rethinking, all right, maybe he's a great NHA, like low point play.
I think that might be a good way to approach it there. I mean, it stood out to me based on kind of like what you touched on, just the absences that are there. It's a prop where he's already averaging in a per 36 cents, a 3 more than what they're asking for here. And he's going to be playing with no Middleton out there, potentially no Giannis, although we do expect Giannis. But it's just a spot where, you know, if he goes out and does the average in the average situation, he would beat it. And he's not going to be playing in that average situation. He's going to be playing in an enhanced situation. So I kind of like it, even with the, you know, the lackluster recency. I still kind of like us to get there on that one.
All right, my friend. Appreciate it as always. Again, hit that thumbs up button for Terry at the very least, and make sure you, if you haven't already, take advantage of this promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. No house advantage. See a couple of people eyeing this now, new to it in the chat. This is an easy way in which you can collect some money on NHA. Thanks to Tyler, and again, thanks to you all out there. Terry, my friend, we'll be back next week.
Sounds good, bud. I'll be here.